Ladies and gentlemen, this is the City of Tyler Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February the 5th. We want to welcome all our guests to the meeting, those who are interested in items on the agenda and those who are here to observe. Our first order of business is to call the roll. Matthew, is that you?
Yes, sir. John Landas.
Here.
Michael Carmichael.
Here.
Christina Davis.
Here.
Philip Humber.
Here.
Clint Childs.
Here.
Carlene Dark Bays.
Here.
Chairman David Hudson.
Present. We have a full quorum for this meeting. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council. Any item approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, February 28th, commencing at 9 a.m. If you received a notice for this meeting, you also received a notice for the City Council meeting. If any item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item, please state your name and address for the record at the podium. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, although extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. At the conclusion of this meeting, we'll have a workshop to plan for our next meeting, and that will take place immediately in the conclusion of this meeting across the street in the Tyler Development Center, 423 West Ferguson, in the large conference room. Our next item is minutes from our last meeting. Have commissioners had an opportunity to review these minutes, and are there any changes, corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Before we get started, I want to, item number 3 on your agenda, the Pollard Hines buildings. If there's no objection, I'd like to move that item to the end of the meeting for no particular reason except for timing. So if nobody objects to that, then that's what I'd like to do. Otherwise, the first meeting on our agenda is PD 23-029 CNM Meats, 2205 Jones Street.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and good afternoon to everyone present here today. This is a PMF Plan Multifamily Site Plan Amendment. This property is located east of the intersection of Old Henderson Highway and East Front Street. The applicant is requesting the amendment to build an apartment complex. Looking at the surrounding zoning, the properties to the north and east is single family and undeveloped, and the property to the east is zoned for industrial M1, and it's in location of ASCO Equipment Inc., and the properties to the south is for commercial zoning and is undeveloped, and also some commercial uses. Looking at the future land use guide, the future land use guide identifies this property as multifamily, and this would stay consistent. That's the aerial view of the property. Going back to some history of the property, in 2022, the subject property was rezoned from R1B, which was single family, to PMF Plan Multifamily with the site plan that's shown here with 172 units, and with also shown that a north-south street connecting the Jones Street to the north to the East Front Street to the south. And they are amending the site plan and proposing this amendment with eliminating that north-south connection and also making some more changes. You can see that the current site plan proposes 3 4-story buildings with 112 one-bedroom unit and 80 2+ bedroom units with a total of 192. That will be an increase of 20 units. And landscaping, screening, and signage will be as per UDC. The only request, another request that been made through the site plan is for parking. They're asking for a parking variance of 43 spaces. So the traffic engineer has performed a review to this request and requested for a traffic impact analysis so they can determine the traffic impact to the East Front Street. Even though they're showing two connections to the east and the west of the Jones Street, there are some unimproved sections along Jones Street, which so the connectivity to the Old Henderson or the loop is not feasible. So the only at this time the only connection that they have is the East Front Street. So the applicant has requested to table this item for 60 days so they can do a traffic impact analysis and the parking study so they can submit it to the city for review. So going back to the opposition. Out of the 7 notices that was sent, none was received in favor and 1 in opposition, and that neighbor owns most of the properties in the north and the west, and which brings it up to 32.45%, and they were mostly concerned about crime, noise, and traffic that will bring along with the proposal. Also the written notice exceeds 20%, it'll need a favorable 3/4 of the majority of the city council in order for this item to be approved. But at this time, staff recommends tabling this item for 60 days until the April meeting.
All right, thank you, Thrani. Any questions for Thrani? All right, I don't have any cards or information for people who want to speak. Are there persons here who would like to comment on this item?
Can I say something?
Yes, please come to the microphone.
My name is Bonnie Etheridge, and I'm a representative for ASCO Equipment. Our main concern is we do have a drainage in our property. And I think they had reassured us that they would have civil engineers out there to make sure that they don't block that drainage that flows over onto this property. So that would be something maybe that I can be in touch with somebody and they can reassure us that that's not going to happen. Of course, it's all the way from the loop through Aldi over to our parking lot where the water drains over into this area.
And show me where your property is.
I am to the east. I'm the property to the east of this. And the drainage, you can see that kind of that little treed area over there. If you go down, right to the right there, that's where the drainage area is. And I believe it flows right behind the granary. And it's just the concern to please keep that draining and free flowing because it would create a lot of problems for us and Aldi.
All right, thank you. Any questions for this lady? Tell me your name and address again.
It's Bonnie Etheridge, and the address is 2602 East Front Street.
Thank you for your time and presence.
Yes,
Your concerns are one of the reasons why the staff recommendation is to table this for 60 days. Are there others who would like to speak on this item?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why the less 40 parking spaces than required?
The
Do we know?
UDC requires certain number of parking spaces for bedroom units, and with the amount of bedrooms that they have, it is not adequate. So the applicant is looking at a parking study where they can provide like alternate, like a bike stand, or like how far it is adjacent to a bus stop and all that. So they're looking at some study to provide alternate connection routes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Carmichael. Any other questions for city staff? If not, the staff recommendation is to table this for 60 days for purposes of further study. Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table PD 23-029 for 60 days.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table this item for 60 days. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items tabled for 60 days. Next item on our agenda is PD 23-030 Davis Thornton Limited. Thorani?
This is a zone change from C1, light commercial district, to PMF, planned multifamily. This also has a site plan. The applicant is requesting the zone change for multifamily development. Most of the surrounding zoning are for commercial uses along that area. The property to the west is PMF, and this subject property is a part of the PMF, but in 2022, when the west property PMF was rezoned, this piece was left off. So they're just coming back to include this piece into that PMF portion. The future land use guide identifies this as mixed use. This is consistent, and that's the piece, and this is that portion. Oh, fancy stuff here. There. This piece right there. Out of the 9 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of this zone change.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Ronnie? I don't know that anybody's signed up to speak. Are there persons here who'd like to comment on this item for or against? If not, the staff recommendation is to approve this item. Is that correct, Ronnie?
Yes.
Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve PD 23-030.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Number 3 is the item I'd like to move to the end. So number 4 is Z23-049, Andrew Lockridge. Ronnie?
This is a zone change request from R2 two-family residential district to R1D single-family attached and detached residential district. The applicant is requesting the zone change to subdivide this property into 3 single-family lots. Most of the zoning around it are R2, and then to the north is R1D. They're all developed with single-family homes. The future land use guide identifies this as single-family and single-family attached, and this would be consistent. Looking at the area view, there are already 3 homes on that property. The applicant also owns the subject property to the south, and they're planning to just subdivide it so that it's under conformance. Out of the 31 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of the zone change.
All right, thanks. Any questions for Ronnie? Is the applicant here? Are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? If not, commissioners, the staff recommendation is to approve. Any discussion, or is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve Z23-049.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Next is PD 23-026, David Rainwater. Caleb?
Yes, I was waiting. I wanted you to say my name, so I wanted to see if I was going to
You
be
want me to say
Caleb.
it again?
I wanted to see if I was Caleb or Kyle today. So.
Whoever.
I was hoping you'd say Kyle so I could make him present.
I understand.
All right, this is a zone change request.
It's a humor. So.
This is a zoning change request from R1A Single Family Residential District to PUR Planned Unit Residential District at the intersection of Sunnybrook Drive and West 10th Street. The applicant is requesting the zone change in order to develop this property with attached housing. We'll see a site plan in just a little bit here. The adjacent properties to the east, south, and west are all zoned R1A Single Family Residential District, and then the properties to the north are zoned C1 Light Commercial District, and that's currently developed with a cell tower and a laundromat. The future land use guide identifies the property as single family, medium low density. This request would amend that future land use guide to be single family and single family attached. This is the property here. As you can see, most everything to the south is developed, really with the exception of this property here, and then a little bit as you kind of continue South Vine Avenue there to the west. Okay, this is the applicant's proposed site plan, the applicant is proposing to develop the property with 14 attached single-story, single-family homes with 2 private drives running along the property, as you can see there. The applicant is intending to leave the portion there on the south, that blue area, undisturbed. It's actually a creek that runs there through that property. The applicant's intending to not affect that, not touch that portion, and to leave a lot of that area there as undisturbed, kind of buffer yard between this development and the residential to the south. The applicant is also proposing to develop the property to build a fence along the border of the property in order to further address any concerns of this development interfering with the single-family character to the south. Let's go. So this is the property here. You can see there on the north. This is there at that intersection. Okay, of the 22 notices that were sent out, 1 was returned in favor and 9 were returned in opposition to the request for a total protest calculation of 19.56%. As you can see, a majority of the protest comes from those neighbors to the south that are directly adjacent to the property, none from the properties to the north. We did receive 1 comment from the cell tower from AT&T, not in opposition, but just generally being concerned about residential development going there and a potential fall zone. But my understanding is that if development wanted to come in, they could develop the property now with single family. That wouldn't affect anything. So because of the proposed density of the site being greater than what would be allowed with a straight residential rezoning, if the property currently being R1A could hold, I think it's 4 lots now, could be 4 single-family homes. Because it's larger than what would be proposed with a straight residential rezoning to a less strict residential district, and because of the large amount of neighbor protest that was received in opposition, staff's recommendation is to table this item to allow for the applicant to communicate with their proposal to the neighbors, and then to finalize the site plan after further communicating that with staff, after maybe addressing some of the neighbor concerns. The neighbors are generally opposed to further, noise, traffic that comes with development, and then also with potential drainage issues that might come from that creek being, proximity to that creek being developed out. So staff's recommendation that this item be tabled for 30 days to the next meeting.
Caleb, could you go back to the site plan? The one that I have been looking at appears different.
Yeah, it is.
Correct, it is. This one was returned to us today by the applicant. They're here and they can address some of the questions regarding to the site plan. It's part of why too, maybe recommending tabling is we have a site plan. Staff has reviewed the site plan. Maybe hasn't done as thorough a review maybe at this point that we might like, especially with the amount of protest that's come in. Speaking with our engineering department, it does seem like they suspect that the site plan will be generally consistent, maybe with minor modifications that need to be done, but they seem that this will be pretty close to what a final site plan would end up being.
Are any other questions for city staff?
Are these duplexes or single?
So the 2 units there on the those are 5-plexes. So 5 single-family attached units, and then the portion there on the east is a 4-plex, 4 attached units. And like I said, I'll let the applicant further address any questions about the site plan.
Now, are there any questions for city staff? All right, are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. If you'd come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
We've just put a lot of thought into this.
Just let me stop. State your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. David Rainwater, 11801 FM 724, Tyler, Texas 75704. Do you have any questions for me specifically?
Why don't you just tell us what your plan is
Yeah, this has been about a 2-year plan in the making. We've put a lot of thought into it, so, we didn't, just come in last night. I bought the property a little over 2 years ago and kind of had a vision for it, and partnered with Hugo here, Tyler One Builders. He's helped kind of develop the vision for it. We've tried to be, thoughtful. I think it's a good transition property between the, commercial use on one side and the residential. Seems like a natural transition. The property is going to, most likely be developed one way or the other. Obviously, we would like to build the multifamily unit, but not only do we want to do it, we think it's probably the best use of the land. There's a lot of demand for lease, rental type housing right now, especially, and try to put some thought into it with privacy fencing, not chain link fencing, surrounding it and creating a natural buffer, leaving some trees. Hugo could speak more to the drainage. I think there was a question about drainage. I think we've addressed that, and that's about all. We're open. I'm certainly wouldn't want to request anything against the staff recommendations. I understand kind of some of the things that Caleb is saying. Do y'all have any more specific questions? I think just pointing out that we're trying to be thoughtful and we're open to, trying to make any tweaks that we need to. But generally, we think this is a good use of the land and what we would like to do.
Any questions for Mr. Rainwater?
Is the privacy fence on the south side, is it below where these kind of trees are drawn on here?
Yeah, there would be some green zone there and some
Yeah.
trees, and then bordering before the creek, and then a natural buffer. I don't know, I guess none of you have been out there, but there's a natural buffer as well with trees and creek. We would leave an additional green zone with fence encompassing those trees and the greens. And Hugo can speak
I
to
can
this.
answer, yeah, question. My name is Hugo Fernandez. We own Title One Builders. I don't know if you guys can hear me. We will do a privacy fence all the way around. We'll do a 6-foot high wood fence all the way around to the property. And then the back, we have, I think, 32 feet from the property line where he's marking right there to the property line. It's like 30, 35 feet. Then nobody's, going to go into that area. And so we're not going to literally touch anything of the creek. I don't know if you guys have any questions in that area.
I was curious, are these single level dwellings, or are they going to be 2-story?
Yes.
It was single. Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Thank you for your time and presence. Don't go away. Are there others here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? If not, the staff recommendation is to table for 30 days to resolve some questions.
Correct. Going back real quick, just to acknowledge, I know this comes up all the time when we do these zoning cases, but things like the drainage will be addressed. We won't allow them to get building permits unless the drainage is addressed at that point. So as far as that goes, I think the main issues now relating to staff review is just maybe some of the, probably mainly regarding to the driveways. And then, as I mentioned, because there is a large amount of staff or citizen concern, obviously we don't want something going in that is that overwhelmingly opposed in that area. I think staff generally shares the sentiment of the applicant that this property will be developed at some point with residential. This just might be, because of the higher density, might require a little more review than staff has been able to have to this point.
I guess one question I would have is the traffic engineering. It's kind of a busy intersection there.
Right. Yeah, traffic has reviewed it. I don't believe they had any initial concerns with the amount of traffic being generated. But it is, like I said, it is a higher density. I think the ability for that intersection there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can get to that going any direction, either north or south on Sunnybrook. I think there is a a cut there that you can get across. I think that alleviates at least some of the traffic concerns there. In that.
Is it the distance or the length of these driveways that makes it not require fire truck turnaround?
Correct. I believe if it's less than 150 feet, it doesn't require a fire turnaround. And speaking with our development services engineer, he seems to think that these would fall under that category of not needing a turnaround.
All right, any questions for city staff? Staff recommendation is to table for 30 days.
Correct.
Is there a commissioner like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we table this item for 30 days.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table this item for 30 days. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Y'all come back and visit with us. The next item is C23-010, Brian Ashton, LLC.
Yes, this is a request for a closure of an unimproved alley right-of-way. Actually ties in with the next case, which is a zoning case. We'll get to that in a little bit. The applicant is requesting the closure of this unimproved alley right-of-way in order to replat into their adjacent property. And then the applicant is proposing to develop their property with a triplex here. This is at the intersection of East Irwin Street and Adams Avenue. As you can see, all the adjacent properties there are zoned M1 Light Industrial District. And these are all currently undeveloped. This is the portion here. As you can see, this alley is proposed to go over a city drainage easement. We, the city, have no real intention of developing that alley over the drainage easement, so we're generally not going to need that for access. The applicant actually owns, let's see if I can get, the applicant owns this property here. The rest of these properties that would abut the closure are all city-owned properties. Those are all owned by the city of Tyler. So as being the other property affected, the city does not intend to ever use that alley for any purpose. Of the 17 notices that were sent out, 2 were returned in favor and none were returned in opposition to the request. Staff has reviewed the application and finds that it's generally consistent with approval criteria, and staff recommends approval of this right-of-way closure.
All right, thank you, Caleb. Are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item? Yes, sir. If you'd like to speak on this item, please come to the microphone. And looks like there are 2 folks.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Jackson, speaking on behalf of Brian Ashton LLC. And like he was saying, I was requesting that that's the east alley closure and coming off of Adams Street, the south, because the south would be where we would be coming in for parking.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Ashton? Thank you for your time and presence. Yes, sir, this gentleman here.
Hi, Bill Murillo, property owner for 401 East Irwin Street and 407 East Irwin Street. My concern is the city has had that lot throughout these several decades. They have not allowed anyone to build on it. It was sold multiple times, but repurchased by the city. There are right-of-way easements in pertaining to the drain and other various ordinances that dictate that you can't build so many feet from the creek, etc. So my concern is, I'm for the property development, but I would like to present that so that the person developing can be made aware, or if the city needs to be made aware of these issues that have existed in the past.
All right, if I understood Kyle or maybe Caleb discussed the city ownership of the property, the majority of those lots, the bulk of those lots?
Yeah, I believe the properties that Caleb mentioned, can you go back to yeah, you can see the ones that are traversed by the drainage channel are city-owned. And yeah, there is a floodway through there from our master drainage study that will affect any development on those lots. That floodway is also on the property that we'll see next, but it's not completely covered. So that just means that there will have to be some additional information provided when development occurs.
And I'll add in addition, part of this road closure would, if this alley is closed and the property is replatted, that would give the applicant a little more space to develop the property, which might be needed in order to properly develop this outside of the floodway. So the closure kind of goes hand in hand with potentially redeveloping this property as being a positive, I think, for the site's future development.
Would it be fair to say that these efforts would have the long range effect of making the property usable when currently it is not?
Correct.
Could we see the proposed site plan, or is that coming up?
There is no proposed site plan for coming up. The next item is the zoning case that goes along with the closure, or with the property itself. That one there, which they're proposing to rezone to DBAC, Downtown Business Arts and Culture. Because it's not a planned district, we wouldn't require it to have a site plan. So they could build what's allowed by right. I believe they're proposing a triplex, so they could build as long as they meet all building code.
Yes, sir. If you have further comments, please come to the microphone.
Just one more thing. In the years, I have been on that corner for 30 years, and when the creek project was completed, it did alleviate our problems. But water has broken out of the creek and has flooded the area in question, along with my property behind 407. It happened a few years ago, but it still occasionally will reach the limits and begin to slap against the bridges and go over the road. So we still have that problem. And I know where that particular property is at. It makes a turn crossing under Irwin, and if they're not careful, problems can continue.
Okay, thank you for that input. Mr. Ashton?
Yeah, these were just, if y'all want to take a look at them.
But I tell you what, let's deal with the right-of-way closure first, and then move on to the next issue. Are other persons who'd like to speak on the right-of-way closure at all? It's unimproved alley, I guess is what it is. If not, the city staff's recommendation is to approve this. Is that correct? Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve C-23-010.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the next item is Z23-050, Brian Ashton. Caleb?
Yes, as I mentioned, this is goes hand in hand. This is a rezoning from M1 Light Industrial to DBAC, Downtown Business Arts and Culture District, located here on the property. As I mentioned, the applicant is requesting to develop the property with a triplex. Because this property falls within the Tyler First Comprehensive Plan, there are DBAC, Downtown Business Arts and Culture District area. It's located within that boundary. Staff is generally in support of all of those properties being rezoned to be this mixed-use downtown business district. So this is in line with the city's plans for the area. Staff has performed the review and finds that it's consistent. And now we can look at the site as well. And just to go back to, of the 17 notices that were sent out, like the first one, 2 were returned in favor, none were returned in opposition. Staff recommends approval.
All right, thanks. Any questions for Kate?
So it looks like this is pretty close to that creek. Have you determined that that's not going to be affected by the floodplain there? Or is that just something they'll do when they make their application?
We haven't seen this layout before,
Okay.
but it might be impacted by that floodway. So we'll work with the applicant on that part.
Correct. As I mentioned, this would all, since it's not a planned district, site plan wouldn't be required for any kind of approval. This is more just the applicant has it provided here for you. This may or may not be what ends up getting permitted. Obviously, when we look at building permits, we would make sure that it isn't impacted by any.
So really all we're doing is changing the zoning.
Correct.
We don't have a building plan. We don't know what's going to happen.
That's
there.
correct.
And the drainage issues will have to be dealt with at a later date.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that correct? Any questions for city staff? And the staff's recommendation is to approve this DBAC.
That is correct.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve Z23-050.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Good luck with your project. Next is Z23-047, Timothy and Deborah Johnson.
Yes, this is a zone change request from R1A, Single Family Residential District, to AR, Adaptive Reuse District, located at the intersection of East 4th Street and Donnybrook Avenue. This is the property here. The applicant is requesting to utilize the property for single family and light office use. I believe the proposed use is for that of a notary office. The adjacent properties to the north, east, and west are all zoned R1B, Single Family Residential District, and are developed with single family homes. And then the adjacent properties to the south, you can see there, are also zoned AR, Adaptive Reuse, and are developed with adaptive reuse uses there. This request would be consistent with the future land use guide, which identifies the property as single family, medium, low density. This is the property here. So the adaptive reuse district allows for limited office use as well as the traditional single family use. The property is currently being utilized for residential purposes. As I mentioned, the applicant is intending to utilize the property for a low-intensity office use of a notary. It is located at a fairly busy intersection. However, as you can see, there are 2 driveways off of, one off of East 4th and then one off of Donnybrook Avenue that can be utilized for parking. Actually, if you go further east on East 4th doesn't continue all the way through there. Well, where it goes, this little portion kind of dead ends there, where 4th splits down to the south. I think it turns into 5th Street. So there's less traffic right there in that portion than there is at the intersection. I believe the applicant also is here to maybe address any concerns. Staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds that it is generally consistent with the approval criteria, and staff recommends approval of the zone change. Oh, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. I'm all hyped up today. Of the 25 notices that were sent out, 1 was returned in favor and 1 was returned in opposition to the request. This is the property here. I don't think this is updated, but the opposition is the property directly to the north, the lot 54. They generally had concerns with the busyness of that intersection and potential safety hazards that might come from people trying to pull in and out of that intersection there. So as I mentioned, staff has reviewed the request and finds that it's consistent with approval criteria and recommends approval of the zone change.
All right, thanks. Any questions for Caleb? If not, are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item? Is the applicant here? Would you come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please?
Deborah Johnson, 402 East 4th, Tyler, Texas 75701. My husband and I have lived in that home for 23 years. There is an awful lot of traffic in the front of that house. I think it's Highway 64 that goes in front of there. We've lived there all these years and had that. It can be quite noisy too. The people across the street from us are, I think he's a landman and has a business. There's also an attorney across the street from us, and then one kind of catty corner to us has in-home or at-home. So what I'm asking for, we're asking for, we're going to live there. I just would like to put a sign out front, maybe 2 foot by 2 foot, of being a notary. I've been a notary for many, many years, but I've never advertised. So I would like to put my sign out front. There's a lot of traffic, but I don't see that it's going to be a lot of activity and people in and out of my home. So that's, you know, it's just something that I would like to do and my husband, but, you know, we're retired and this is something we'd like to do. You have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Johnson?
Ms. Johnson, when I was driving by the property the other day, it happened to be a stack of traffic, I guess, going north on Donnybrook. It was the driveway on Donnybrook that I couldn't really get my head around. I noticed that there's been some, it looks like fresh concrete, I don't know, but there's a parking pad that looks like you have your garage to the house being fed.
We have a
that way.
3-car garage there, and we did move the fence over about a year ago and added some more driveway. So cars can park there or in front of the house. We've always parked in front of that house, and there's never a problem with the traffic going right by. And also in front of the fence, there's parking, so it wouldn't matter wherever, if you would prefer that I say these, I can direct them to park where they need to park. It's not like we're going to have a lot of activity and people coming in and out. I just, you know, but if they want to park on the Donnybrook side, we can do that.
I was wondering, because on the Donnybrook side, it seems like if you were doing a nose-in parking job, you'd be having to back out onto Donnybrook. And at least the time I was there, that didn't seem really feasible, or it would have been difficult.
At the traffic around 4:30 to 5 is very backed up and busy. We don't have a problem with, but I would probably say that parking in front of the house, and there's also 2 parking places in front of our fence in front of the house that they can park. And they can back out there, and they're not in that busy street. They're in that other side street.
It looks a lot safer on that 4th Street side.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Johnson? Thank you.
Thank you.
For your time and presence. Are there others who would like to speak on this item, for or against? Kyle or Caleb, you want to talk about the signage that's being requested?
Right. So I believe under R1A standards, the maximum allowance for a sign is 1 square foot, I think a 1 by 1 square foot. AR, I believe, allows for up to 8 square feet. So a 2 by 2 would fall well within that area. So that would be an acceptable thing here to have. The intent is not to draw away from the residential character, typically those smaller signs. But obviously, we don't want people putting up larger signs in a fully residential area that isn't zoned AR. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for city staff? Persons here who'd like to speak on this item? If not, the staff recommendation is to approve. Is there a motion?
Made the motion to approve Z23-047.
Motion's been made to approve this item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
I'm sorry, nay?
Nay.
So there's 6 ayes and Mr. Charles is a no. Is that right? Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Next is Z23-051, Juan Carlos Maya. Ronnie?
This is a zone change request from R1B, Single Family Residential District, to R2, Two Family Residential District. This is a property that's located east of the northeast intersection of Talley Avenue and West 5th Street. The applicant is requesting for a zone change to develop a duplex on that property. And that's looking at the surrounding zoning. The property to the north is PUR and is developed with quadplexes. And properties to the east, south, and western zone R1B and are developed with single-family homes. The future land use guide identifies this as single-family, medium, low density. This would amend the future land use guide to single-family attached. That's the vacant lot. This neighborhood is predominantly developed with, completely developed with single-family homes. I'm going to go back. That's the surrounding zoning. If you could see below the PUR, all the neighborhood, most of it's developed with single-family homes. And this, building a duplex on this neighborhood and this street, it will introduce a duplex or 2 families. So this, in the planning terms, we call this as pod zoning, introducing a different zoning than the surrounding zoning. Also, there's a history on this property. Looking back at it, in 2022, the Planning and Zoning Commission denied the same request, and also at that time in 2022, the applicant appealed to go to the City Council, and it was also denied in the City Council. And also, the applicant came back with the same request in 2023, in May 2023, and that time Planning and Zoning Commission approved the request with a 3-by-2 vote. And it went to the City Council, and it was denied at the City Council. So this request was denied twice at the City Council, and the applicant had 6 months time to reapply, and they're applying again. This is the 3rd time that we are seeing this request for a zone change to a duplex in this neighborhood. Out of the 23 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request. Staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds that it is generally inconsistent with the approval criteria. The Unified Development Code, it has a list of approval criteria for the zone changes, and one of it is the zoning change must be compatible with the present zoning and conform to the uses of the nearby property and with the character of this of the neighborhood. And this is inconsistent with this approval criteria, and the staff recommends denial of the zone change.
Thank you, Thrani. Any questions for Thrani? And the lot is big enough as it is for a R1B.
Yes, it would be meeting the criteria for both R1B and R2.
Any other questions for city staff? Are there persons here who wish to speak on this item for or against? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record.
Max Slicker with SE Architecture, 2931 Elkton Trail. With the zoning request, zoning change request, if you can go back to I know you said, or we mentioned kind of the pod zoning and stuff, and if you'll notice, there's a couple R2 kind of scattered about, and then also to the north the PUR, and then just to the other side of Glenwood, it's a large development of R2. So even though that to the south is a majority of single-family houses, there are a few duplexes or two-family houses. Again, notice, kind of distinguished by the two R2s. Part of that, I spoke with Matthew the other day, and he was saying that those houses were probably brought into conformance because of the age. They were already developed or built as older houses. I guess the request in line with that is, if anything were to happen, or the current owners of those two properties, they could, because of the zoning, demo what's existing there, and then also build a new duplex because it conforms with the current zoning. So we don't feel like we're too far out of line with the request of the R2 in this area.
Any questions for this witness? You know, all I see is two ARs down on Vine, one R2 and one R1B in that whole section. I'm aware that up on Glenwood there's been a lot of development, but that's on Glenwood. It's not into this residential neighborhood.
Yes, sir. There to the east, I guess southeast of this property, there's an R2 as well, and I can't read what.
Quite a ways away.
Yeah, that's 6th and Robertson.
Okay.
And then another one down on West 7th.
Yes, sir.
But there are no duplexes right in this same block, so it would definitely have an effect of the aesthetics of that neighborhood changing from everybody having a single driveway and a garage to either two garages or two double parking spaces or something, which would potentially change the feel and effect of that section of 5th Street.
Yes, sir. And my client and I, we discussed that, and potentially creating a duplex that's from the front, the aesthetic appeal on 5th Street would look like a single family, but be divided into a duplex.
I guess the question I have is it's developable as it's currently zoned.
As a single family, yes, sir.
Any other questions for this gentleman? If not, thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who wish to speak on this item, for or against? If not, the staff recommendation is to deny. Is Commissioner like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we deny Z23-051.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item's denied. Next is PD 23-028, Glenwood Church of Christ. All right.
This is a zone change from R1A, Single Family Residential District, to RMF. No, that's PUR. I'm sorry. It's R1A and RMF to PUR, a planned unit residential. This is a property that's located along Holly Tree Drive. The applicant is requesting to build 9 detached single-family homes on the 6 lots and re-subdividing it. Looking at the surrounding zoning, the properties to the west is PUR and RMF, and is developed with townhomes and apartment. The property to the north is RMF, that is multifamily, but it's developed with the church. The properties to the east and south are R1A, and that's residential, and it's developed with single-family homes. Looking at the future land use guide, this would be consistent with the future land use guide. Just the north portion of it, it will amend from multifamily to single-family, medium-low density. That's the aerial view of the property, and that's the site plan. The applicant plans to re-subdivide the 6 lots into 9 detached single-family homes, and then with the density of 5.1 units per acre. The site plan also has the shared access with 2 driveways on on Holly Tree. This would eliminate 6 driveways onto Holly Tree and just have 2 of them, so for the traffic impact. And the applicant is also proposing a trail along the south of the southernmost portion of the property, And the common area, that's the floodway, is also will be maintained by HOA. And this development is also similar to the ones that you see to the south of the Holly Tree Drive. And this will be consistent with the area. Out of the 37 notices that was sent, 2 was received in favor and 2 in opposition to the request with the 5.50 protest calculation. And the neighbors was concerned about the density with the 6 being moving to 9, and then also another neighbor preferred that location would be ideal for an office zoning, which would complement the area, especially with all the church and all the multifamily and commercial to the south. Staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds that it is generally consistent with the approval criteria, and staff recommends approval of the zone change with the site plan.
All right, thank you, Ronnie. Any questions for city staff?
Are the new lot sizes about the same as those in the development to the south? Are they similar in size?
It's slightly larger than the ones to the south.
Larger?
Mhm.
Okay. I couldn't tell just by looking.
I couldn't tell either. They look smaller to me.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for city staff? All right, I don't have any cards. Are the persons here who'd like to speak on this item for our guests? Yes, sir. Anybody?
Yes, sir. Keith Culver. My home address is 1209 Cambridge Bend, in Tyler, Texas, 75703. My client and I, we've done business for a while, but this property came about and they've got 6. We could have bought individual lots, but the biggest problem that we had with that, I didn't like the idea of backing out into Holly Tree times 6 and being able to back all the way across Holly Tree and then going south or whatever the case. So if we mimicked what Mr. Smith did down and he did a common drive, had 2 drives out, it would have made everything, the transition smoother and a lot safer coming right off of Holly Tree and Rice Road. But these lots here, we build all over, and there's 70 feet wide and then 60, and then we're building on 50-foot lots. So they're still quite a bit larger than the bulk of what we're building in Tyler now. But I think it's a lot safer the way it's going to set up like that. That way we'll buy all of them and then just develop it as a property, put an HOA on it.
All right, thanks. Any questions for this gentleman? All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, I'm Michael Smith, 1310 Bellhaven Court in Tyler. I don't know that I can really add anything else to what has already been said. I mean, we're just basically doing the same thing that Mr. Smith did further south, like as Keith said. There'll be brick and stone houses, and we will not be doing any sort of addition or take away of anything in the floodway easement. So there shouldn't be any problem in that area.
So let me explain this driveway thing. If I understand it, there'll be a sort of a common drive inside the street along these houses. So if you're a resident there, you pull out, go down one way or the other, and that gets you to the Holly Tree exit.
That's correct. And
that's the way the properties further south are developed.
Yes, that's where the idea came from. None of it's original by me. I'm just copying what was done on the south. But one driveway will be, close to the north end, one curb cut close to the north end, and then one close to the south end.
Tell me about this red walking trail.
Well, that was to meet the common area requirement.
Is that the creek?
That is what's this side of it is the floodway easement.
That's that lot 30B, if my eyes are...
Yes. Correct. I mean, all of that back there is the, I believe, is the floodway easement. Is that correct? Yes. Sorry.
The trail is not located in the floodway easement. Since it's all FEMA floodway, no fill or anything could be on that unless an engineering study is done to prove that there's no rise in the floodway. So they're not touching the floodway. It's just going to be along inside the property line.
Well, what's called 30B on this area, Mr. Childs indicated, that is actually the creek.
Yes.
All right, any questions for these witnesses, or are there other persons who would like to speak on this item for or against? Yes, sir.
My name's Timothy Hunt. I live at 5315 Spring Creek, Tyler, Texas 75703. I am the northern property in the red that sent in a notice against. First, I'd like to say, as a member of the Board of Zoning Variance, I commend y'all for your service and your commission. The reason why I come to talk today is because I've been there 28 years. It's not that I don't mind progress. I want to see progress. I want to see it in a discerning fashion so that we can maintain this area the best we can. I will say that this area is very high density area at this present time. Holly Tree Drive is a raceway between Rice and Grundy. I've always thought that it would be good for an RPO or a POD area, which complements the fact that we've had growth in this space and that some professional office structures would complement this area. I don't have concerns with what Mr. Smith wants to do. I have spoke with him on the phone, and like I say, I'm not against progress, especially in infilling the city, as there has been talk about. Bless you. One concern I do have is the fact that the church is still under an RMF, and I would like to see if this is going to be approved, that the church change the status of RMF to institutional, INT. Therefore, I think people in or around the neighborhood who are happy that the church is there will be a little more satisfied. A lot of them don't know what I am, being involved as I am. But, the RMF offers opportunities. The church has decided they need to sell these lots. And I think from what I've talked to with fellow members of the church that, they need the money. And so, quite frankly, I understand that. I go to First Christian at Lucan Broadway, and we consider selling it off, as a high rent district and moving somewhere else. But we decided, no, we're going to stay here as a beacon. So that's what we did and rebuilt. So that being said, my opinion is the PUR is okay. I would like the congruency. I like the fact that a couple of years ago that I came here and we changed the lot that holds the faith-based adoption agency, which is the only RPO you see, and they have since been donated the property that's in the white between the RPO, the one RPO, and the green area in question. That being said, I'm for it. But I would like to see, some balance whereby we have some congruency within that space. I don't like the RMF where the church is located. I'd like to see them change that in good faith with the area and the neighborhoods or surrounding. And also for Mr. Smith to be in good faith with his intent if it's decided to approve PUR.
All right, Mr. Hunt, thank you. Any questions from Mr. Hunt? Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And thanks for your time and presence here. Are there others who would like to speak? If not, Ronnie, this staff recommendation is to approve.
Yes.
Is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve PD 23-028.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Is there discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item's approved. Good luck with your project. Next is C23-007. Gerardo Gonzalez and Ernesto Gonzalez, I guess. Thorani?
I'm his brother.
We're going to hear from the city staff first, and then we'll be glad to hear your comments. Yes, ma'am.
This is a closure request for an alley right-of-way. This is, you can see to the north is the East Hillsborough Street. The applicant is requesting to close that alley right-of-way. He also owns the property to the west and the east, so closing this alley right-of-way, this is unimproved. Closing this would give them additional space to develop the property, and they'll have to replat it into their adjacent lots to get the space. That's the aerial view of the property. And out of the notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and the city staff performed a technical review, and this is consistent with the approval criteria, and staff recommends approval of this closure.
And Thorani, the applicant owns 16A and 18, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, any questions for Thorani?
The alley to the south, that's not developed, correct?
No.
Okay.
Sir, would you like to address the commission? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Jose Gonzalez, and I'm here to represent my brothers, Jerry and Ernesto. And he sent me here to see if he could get the alleyway, because he owns both lots. And he's trying to develop some, I guess, houses or something like that.
If the alleyway is closed, your brothers will have to replat this lot to combine the properties.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that? All right, thank you. Thank you for any questions for this gentleman? Thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who'd like to speak on this item? If not, the staff recommendation is to approve. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve C23-007.
Second.
I'm sorry if I started. The motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item is approved. Next is Z23-046, Christopher Calvillo, I hope. Thorani?
This is a zone change request from R1A, Single Family Residential District to AR, Adaptive Reuse District. This is a property that's located in the Midtown area at the intersection of a couple of streets, I think South Tipton Avenue. The applicant is requesting the zone change for accounting office. Looking at the surrounding zoning, all the surrounding properties are zoned for single family and developed with single family homes. The Adaptive Reuse District allows for light office uses as well as traditional single-family homes, but without detracting from the residential character of the neighborhood. And we had a question last time that came up in case if this structure were to be destroyed, what would happen, and whatever they are trying to build back there in that AR zoning, it will have to be maintained as per the residential character. So that is the character of that AR zoning itself, and applicant has provided the parking, because usually that comes up with AR as parking. They do have parking in the rear and in the front, and the rear would be employee parking. And I'm not sure if applicant is here, but they will have a limited hours for the accounting office, so there won't be a lot of traffic during peak hours. And this is consistent with the future land use guide as well. It's a single-family, medium, low density. Out of all the notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of the zone change from R18 to AR.
Ronnie, is it currently being used as a residence?
Yes, I believe it was used as a residence. I'm not sure if they're currently using as a residence.
Any other questions for city staff?
I have a question just in general. Why is this not considered spot zoning? Is it because it stays looking residential, or what's the?
The AR, like I mentioned before, it'll maintain the residential character of it, and since with the midtown growth and in the area, and with all that development, and this would be complementing the midtown growth, so that's why.
Could you bring up the parking slide again? It was the one with the mark, we missed this, now three the other way. That one, thank you.
So that's parking back in the back of the house, the driveway?
For the
Yes.
employees.
Ah,
And they would pave additional parking at the original driveway for customers.
On Overhill, is there an existing curb cut? Or are they adding one? I'm trying to follow it.
They are going to be adding a curb cut on Overhill. I don't think it exists.
in an AR, are there requirements on the parking so that it doesn't in some way change the look of the building, having a bunch of concrete out in front of a house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so just like any residential district, there's a limitation on how much the front yard can be paved, which would be up to 55%. And that's true for single-family home and AR as well.
You know, Tipton is a big, it's a big wide street, and it's access to the school. It's I would assume certain times of day that there's a lot of traffic there.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Thron? Are the persons here who'd like to speak on this side and for or against? Yes, ma'am. If you'd come to the microphone.
My name is Christy Vasquez. My address is 312 County Road 279 in Tyler. I have a contingent offer on this house. It's been for sale for about half a year now. And we're going to turn it into an accounting office if you guys will let us. There's 2 garage spaces where a couple of the employees can park, but then we'll also have 4 to 5 spots on that. I don't know if you can see where the dumpster is. Back when it was being remodeled, that's where the clientele will park. And then we'll ask for permission and, go through the permits to cut the curb and allow employees to park in the back. And we intend to keep the residential character up. That's what we like at our office, is a very home feel, and do some more landscaping.
All right, thank you. Any questions for this witness? You're the applicant.
Yes. I just don't own it yet.
Any questions? If not, thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Maritza Pinal. I live at 1410 Ridgeview Drive. I live directly right behind where she plans on doing the parking space in the backyard. My concern is just the noise and we have a small privacy fence between that line, and specifically I don't have children, but I bought my home specifically for my animals, my dogs, and it's just the noise and the distraction of them, of hearing cars or just so close to my backyard. And I'm already at ease. When I bought the house, it was abandoned, so it wasn't a problem, but when they remodeled it, I just don't like that. They can see, that house is a little bit more elevated than mine, and they can see directly in my yard, probably in my house, and I'm just not comfortable having strangers in and out looking in there, but That's just my concern. And then also, I'm not really sure about the changing of the zoning, what that really means, and more of like taxes, like what is it going to raise, is it going to stop, or stuff like that. Like I'm not really sure what all that intends.
Your house faces Ridgeview Drive?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's on the corner?
And no, it's right behind. It's not the corner one, but the next one.
So it's the next house down.
Right there, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions for this witness?
Not for the witness, but I have a question. Is there a requirement for fencing on AR? Any different than residential?
Only if there's any parking facing the residential property that they have to be screened.
So this will have if it's done like this, there
Right.
would be parking back there, so there would be a fencing requirement?
If it's, I'm not sure, this isn't really a layout showing how it's going to be laid out, but if it's laid out where if there's any, parking spaces that are fronting where the headlights would face the neighboring residential property, if that was the case, then there would be a requirement for a fence. But other than that, there's no fencing requirements for residential properties, and so that'd be the same here.
Nor setbacks for new curb cuts or anything like that? Or is that going to be different?
It would have to be per the code. I don't think we've reviewed this with the applicant or
Understood.
anybody else, but yeah, there is spacing between the curb cuts. I think that's going to be too close, as it's shown there. And so I don't know if that's feasible, but there will be an offset from the next driveway. After that, just like any other driveway can be along the property.
Okay, any other questions for city staff or for this lady? Will the applicant come back just for a minute? Can you talk, I don't know what CPA hours are, so, they seem to be, depends on the time of year, I guess, but
We're a very casual office. During non-tax season hours, we are only at the office 8 to 4, 3 days a week. And then right now during tax season, we're there Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, and Friday, half of a day. I passed out a letter to the neighbors, hopefully they all got it, that we have maybe 10 people come and go during the off-season hours, off-season time, because everybody does everything electronically now. We just need a place for our staff to sit. We've outgrown where we're
How many
currently
employees
at.
do you have?
6, including myself.
Is there currently a fence back there, a wooden fence or
No,
something that
it's
would?
chain link with like a natural overgrowth barrier, so we'd be happy to accommodate whatever, to make all of us happy. Want to be good neighbors.
All right, I've heard you say you're going to be a good neighbor. Is that right?
Want to be. I'll try.
Any other questions for this lady? Thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who'd like to speak on this item? If not, the staff recommendation is to approve changing an R1A to an AR. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve Z23-046.
Motion's been made. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Matthew, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. John Landis.
Aye.
Michael Carmichael.
No.
Christina Davis.
Nay.
Philip Humber.
Nay.
Clint Childs.
Nay.
Carlene Dark Bays.
Nay.
David Hudson,
Aye. I'm sorry, the zoning application is denied. Next is Z23-052, Naturon Properties, I think. Never been crushed like this. It's never happened. Throne.
Yes. This is a zone change request from R1D, Single Family Attached and Detached Residential District, to RMF, Multifamily Residential District. This property is located along the south of the southwest intersection of County Road 219 and the Haverhill Drive. That's the subject property, and the applicant is requesting the zone change to allow for more units on that property. Right now, R1D allows for whatever that is platted in that area, and the applicant wants an additional more units with RMF zoning for multifamily. Looking at the surrounding zoning, property to the north is M1 and is used for commercial use, and all of the surrounding zonings to the south, east, and west is R1B and is developed with single-family homes or undeveloped. The future land use guide identifies this as single-family medium low density, and this would amend the future land use guide to multifamily. And in 2020, this was rezoned from R1A to R1D for smaller single-family homes, detached homes, and the applicant would want to complement the housing demand in that area with the UT Tyler being in closer proximity. So they want to add more units, and that's why they're here for multifamily zoning request. Also, with the University Woods Area Development Plan, this area is identified as is recommended for residential, and some recommendations from the some other recommendations from the University Woods ADP are to promote single-family infill projects and also provide new student housing opportunities and create additional housing development in the UT Tyler area, and this would complement the UDP. Out of the 29 notices that was sent, 1 was received in favor and none in opposition to the request, and staff has reviewed this request and finds that it is generally consistent with the approval criteria and the UDP, and staff recommends approval of the zone change.
All right, thanks, Doreen. Any questions for city staff? If not, are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
My name is Sam Ivey. I work at the Brandon Corporation at 132 South Broadway, and we're the civil engineers for the project, and I'm just here for any questions, if y'all have anything.
All right, any questions? They said they didn't send Bob, they kept him in the seat. All right, if there are no questions, are there persons who'd like to speak on this item for or against? If not, the staff recommendation is to approve. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve item Z23-052.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items approved. Good luck with your project. Now that brings us back to PD 24-001, Pollard Hines Buildings, and Mr. Childs is going to excuse himself and step out of the room. All right, Thorne.
This is a zone change from C1, light commercial district, to PMXD1, mixed use zoning. This is a property that's located along South Beckham Avenue and East 5th Street. This is right at the intersection of both the streets. The applicant is requesting the zone change for a mixed use development. The surrounding zoning, most of them are developed with commercial uses, and this would amend the future land use guide from neighborhood commercial to mixed use center. And that's the aerial view of the property, and let me go to the proposed. Okay. The applicant is proposing for a mixed use with commercial along South Beckham Avenue, so commercial and offices, and attached homes along the East 2nd Street. The parking will be shared among both the development, and there's also a head-in parking that you see from the East 2nd Street, and that would, currently the UDC does not allow for a head-in parking, but since it's already existing, the applicant's not planning to add anything, it's just to reuse what's existing. So the head-in parking is added to the site plan. Like I mentioned in the previous zoning, this is also in the Midtown area, and with all the growth that's happening in the area, the more housing options would complement this growth. Out of the 10 notices that was sent, none was received in favor or in opposition to the request, and staff recommends approval of the zone change with the site plan and the site narrative to PMXD1.
All right, Thrani, thank you. Any questions for Thrani? If not, are there persons here who wish to speak on this item for or against?
Only here for questions.
Let the record show that Martin Hines is here and available for questions. Any questions for Mr. Hines? All right, if they're not, the staff recommendation is to approve this item.
Mr. Chairman,
is there a motion?
I move we approve PD 24-001.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this item. Any discussion? If not, Matthew, call the roll.
Yes, sir. John Landis.
Aye.
Michael Carmichael.
Aye.
Christina Davis.
Aye.
Philip Humber.
Aye.
Carlene Dark Bays.
Aye.
Chairman David Hudson.
Aye. Items approved. Good luck with your project. That's all we have on our agenda. We stand at recess for our work session across the street.